What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some new news concerning Andre SOG Ward. Andre had this to say. He said, retired or not, I don't believe any fighter can beat me. The dust on the gloves has built up considerably, and the worn down boxing shoes are now as clean as they can be. With a second straight win over Sergey Kovalev roughly 3.5 years ago, Ward seemingly was on top of the boxing world. There wasn't a credible pound for pound on the planet Earth that did not have the undefeated two-time division world champion at the very top of it. Yet, at the peak of his power, Ward opted to walk away from the sport. Since leaving, other names have taken his place. But just at the age of 36, many believe if Ward wanted to, he could return back to the ring. Whether he would dominate or, on the other hand, is another question entirely. Still, even with all the time that has passed by, and the fighters such as Canelo Alvarez, Arthur Beterbiev, and even Anthony Joshua making a name for themselves, Ward doesn't flinch or hesitate by saying whether or not any of those names or anyone in the entire sport, for that matter, would hand him his first defeat of his career. And this is what he had to say. He said, let me put it to you like this. I'm retired, so I can't really talk my talk and have the bass in my voice like I used to when I was active. But retired or not, I don't believe any fighter can beat me, and I'm just going to leave it there. Okay. He says, I'm first ballot Hall of Fame. I didn't get the Hall of Fame thinking that any fighter could beat me. I go into a fight with respect, like this fighter has punching power. This fighter is a good boxer. You go in there with a healthy respect, but I don't believe any fighter can beat me. Those are the words of Andre Ward. And what do I say to that? I like how he cleared it up, because if you first hear the title, you would see, or you could reach for some arrogance. You know, hey, man, that dude kind of sounds arrogant right there. But look, he's an undefeated fighter. There was no fighter that beat him, on record, should I say. So he should have that type of mentality. He's only 36 years of age. Now, if he was 46, he might have another perception, but that doesn't stop other retired fighters from talking the same claim. Okay, a lot of fighters do the same stuff. They go in there, they fight their career, they test their might, so to speak. They challenge themselves, they win or they lose, and then they retire. And then after they retire, they start, well, hey, you know what? I could have beat that guy in my prime. Or I could have did this. I could have did that in my prime. And all these type of things started coming out. But like I say, any fighter that used to fight, there's always a fantasy for those guys to come back. Okay. And me personally, regarding Andre Ward, I respect him. He's a great role model for people, and just well as fighters, but people in general. I think he walked away from the sport too early. I do. I think what bothers Andre Ward is the fact that he should have challenged himself to the full extent, and I don't think he done that. And you can't do that by fighting and beating Sergey Kovalev. That was a great victory. He bullied the boogeyman. He did that. He stopped the boogeyman. The boogeyman ended the fight bent over. Right? He made him bow to Mr. SOG. He did that. And he gained the respect I lost from the first fight, I got it right back in the second fight. Because it was surprising, because Andre Ward's not known to be a power guy, but he showed power. He showed he could hurt the boogeyman, the crusher, the killer, the guy that killed a guy in the ring. He showed all that, right? Now, after that, he walks away. But before he walks away, he considers testing himself like other fighters have done. Okay? The old mongoose. Y'all must have forgot Roy Jones. Jersey Joe Walcott. A lot of guys went from one level. Evander Holyfield's another one. Alexander Usyk is another. They went to that particular weight class, the top, the creme de la creme, the biggest of the biggest. Those guys, he should have done that. And you can tell with Andre Ward saying what he's saying now, you can see there is some regret, because he's still only 36 years of age. Okay? What's the difference between him and Deontay Wilder some months. So let that sink in. And Wilder's still fighting as far as I know. But Wilder will be 36 this year. Andre Ward's 36. He's younger than Triple G, and Triple G's still fighting. Triple G will be 38 like next month or something like that. Or in April, right? So that tells you something. He retired way early. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of this is coming from the idea of how young he knows he is, and I'm pretty sure he stays in shape. You know what I mean? I think he's just not running his mouth on television. I think he actually is putting in the work. You know what I mean? So I think he can do certain things still, and I think that's where a lot of that comes from, along with the regret of leaving the sport when I don't feel he shouldn't have left the sport. Okay? But it's hard to argue with someone like Andre Ward when they haven't get beat, because you have nothing to really compare him to. You have nobody can compare the loss to, because if he lost, then you could say, okay, well, the guy that beat him, who beat him? Is there anybody currently working or fighting today that beat that guy? No, because Andre Ward beat everybody in front of him. Okay, so those are basically bragging rights. I don't really pay it no mind. I don't think people should really get or feel either way about it, because Andre Ward is just speaking his opinion. And one thing about Andre Ward, he is very, very highly dedicated. And when he wants to focus on something, he'll do it. Now, saying all that to say this, could he have fought and beat certain fighters in heavyweight? I don't know. If he would have fought Joshua, would he have beat Joshua? I don't know that either. I do know that Sergey Kovalev put him down. And that wasn't really a flush punch. That was a punch that showed Andre Ward, that he had power, okay, at light heavyweight. Try 70 pounds up and get hit with over the straight right like that. Get hit with that punch, you know. But you could say people like Sullivan Barrera couldn't even touch him. He couldn't even touch Andre Ward. You know, and I think Andre Ward bases his speed and skill and tenacity off of the idea of competing with those guys, just like Alexander Usyk's doing right now. And everybody is, a lot of people, should I say, they're doubting Usyk because of his size. They would do the same thing for Andre Ward. Now, I would be biased if I say Alexander Usyk can do it and Andre Ward couldn't. So I'm not. Okay? So the thing is, we don't know because it hasn't happened. But I do question what happens when he does get hit. But then again, I question that with Alexander Usyk. Okay? But anyway, you guys tell me what you think about Andre Ward stating that there is no one that could beat me if I'm retired or not. Anyway, you guys tell me what you think. Leave your comments below. Please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.